this. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Humanitarian Transformation Network by Candace. Hope everyone is having a blessed day or night wherever you are. I am a socioeconomic researcher, and I apply my socioeconomic research to modern day society. And I went through all the human rights articles. So if you guys would like to go back and check those out, you can do so. But I was trying to figure out what my next series is going to be, and I was sitting down and I was watching movies, and the movie that I started watching was human trafficking movies. And I said, you know what? That is going to be my next series, is to talk about human trafficking, because it's very, very prevalent in this day and age, and there's a lot of it going on, and it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be spoken about more, because there's a lot of women and men and children that are experiencing human trafficking currently. So I'm going to be speaking about that, and I have my notes to my right. So I'm going to be looking to my right and reading my information to you guys in regards to what is the current statistics on human trafficking that is currently, or that we're dealing with right now, because it is a big problem, or not only in the United States, it's a big problem around the world, human trafficking. And we need to talk about this. We need to bring more awareness to this, because these are innocent human beings that are being held captive, basically, is what they're being. And that's modern day slavery. Anybody that is being held captive against their will, that's modern day slavery. For what other purposes, that these people that are evil hold them in captivity for their own personal benefit, and that's modern day slavery. Another human being has no right to hold another human being against their will and not be held accountable for it. So we're going to discuss some facts about human trafficking, okay, because it's very important, and especially me being a woman and encountering, because it also really happens. Well, we're going to go into all of that, but let me give y'all some statistics. Sex trafficking is the most common form of modern day slavery, like I stated. It estimates placed a number of its domestic and international victims in the millions. So human trafficking is in the millions. It's a profitable business, okay, to traffic other human beings, which is insanity, okay, in this day and age. Mostly females and children are enslaved in the commercial sex industry for little to no money. And I actually know of some situations personally that I've met some young ladies that were experiencing that. They were brought over from other countries. This is a while ago. I met these young ladies, and they were, they come from broken homes, foster homes. Parents are drug addicts, so they had nobody. So they were coerced, and from pimps or whoever, um, to get sold into sex slavery, basically, because they take advantage of the ones that are vulnerable. Okay, they find the most vulnerable people, or women that are money hungry, or women that are drug addicts, or children with no homes. And we know some of these governmental agencies, some people that work in these agencies are evil, and are allowing stuff like this to happen to little children as well. And other countries that send their children try to send their children into the United States, that's a form of, that's a guaranteed form of human trafficking, because you just don't send your 4 or 5, however old they are, up to, teenager. You just don't send them, walking to another country. You just don't do that. And there's grown adults that are doing the same thing. So, that's guaranteed that that child is going to be sold into human trafficking. So, there's a lot of instances that we are seeing in this day and age, and no one is addressing these things. I mean, they talk about it, and there's, like I said, there's a lot of, governmental people that are evil, and they're money hungry, and they are as well, they have their hands in it as well. So, that's why, we have to bring more awareness to this, because these are innocent human beings. Okay. I don't care if they're children. I don't care if they're teenagers. I don't care if they're adults. I don't care. These are, or man, woman, child. I don't care. These are human beings, and no other human being has the right to put their hands on anyone and to enslave them or use them for their sexual purpose or whatever purpose that they seeing fit. Even marry a child. A child isn't even developed yet. How can you marry a child when that child isn't even developed? Okay, that is child molestation, is what it is. When a child is not developed, we need to bring awareness to this too, because a child is not fully developed. Okay, and some countries condone, marrying children, and that child isn't even developed. So at that point, we're falling into molestation, with which a lot of people don't want to acknowledge. That's molestation. So with that said, let's move on. Human sex trafficking, slavery is a big business. Yes, we said that. It goes into the millions, trillions. Sex trafficking is international, with victims taken from such places as South and Southeast Asia, the former Soviet Union, Central and South America, and other less developed areas, and moved to more developed ones, including Asia, the Middle East, Western Europe, and North America, which is United States. Okay. So they traffic these people all over the world. Okay. For these evil people's benefit, from children, from women, um, you know, even as far as, putting them in cages, not feeding them, raping them. Some of these young girls end up pregnant, and then they groom that baby also. Okay, as well, they groom the baby to be the next, victim. So we have to be mindful of these things, because it's a big business right now. Um, there's some other stuff I can go into, but we're going to keep going. I'm going to be talking about this for this whole entire week. We're going to be talking about human trafficking. So prepare yourselves, because it's very important. Okay. Uh, United States is ranked as one of the worst countries globally for human trafficking. It is estimated that 199,000 incidents occur within the United States every year. So that's 200,000 people being human trafficked throughout the United States every year. That's insanity. Who are these people? These people, in my eyes, need some psychological help, because something went wrong with them. Okay, if you feel the need to uh, molest someone or sex traffic someone, these people are money hungry, and they have some, internal problems that they need to deal with. Okay, because these people are psychological. If they feel, it's okay to human traffic a child or an adult for their own sexual preferences. And these people are, to me, they're very sick people, and they need, some psychological help. They have some mental illness somewhere within inside of them, because they feel this type of activity is okay, and it's not. This is not okay. Because I grew up in the era, and well, it depends on who you are, but I grew up in an era that children were we were able to go outside and play. We didn't have to worry about pedophiles and child molesters or anything like that. We didn't have to worry about that. And if we did, everyone in the neighborhood knew who they were. Okay, and they told the children, don't you go over there, don't you go near that house. So we were aware, and but we could go out and play as children. And I remember, me and my family. We had a lot of girl cousins in my family, and my friends. We would walk. We would be able to walk at night. Without having any problems, worrying about getting snatched up or anything like that. It was very safe when I was growing up. And this was back in the 70s and 80s. I don't know what happened. Okay, I really don't know what happened unless they kept it covered up very well. But I know back in the 70s and the 80s, we could walk freely in in the United States. We could go out and play uh, kickball and volleyball, and we could walk to the park, and we didn't have any of these problems. So I'm not sure what went wrong, but something went horribly wrong. That people started snatching children and snatching women. Okay, and a lot of this was being covered up because there's a lot of people involved in these types of industries. Okay, because it's an industry. Okay, if it's millions and millions of people being trafficked and 200,000 people being trafficked per year in the United States, that's an industry. That's a business. That's a whole business. Okay, people are profiting off of human beings. That is modern day slavery. Okay, and being African American and a Native American, slavery was abolished a long time ago, and it seems like it has not been abolished at all. Okay, because we are still experiencing this in a different form, in this new century. This is a new form of slavery, okay, that no one is acknowledging, and people need to start acknowledging that this is modern day slavery, okay, which needs to be abolished, and the people that are involved in it need to be held accountable, okay. So, and there's some signs of human trafficking. So if you encounter someone, or child, or an adult, teenager that is has been sold into slavery, there's signs that you can look out for. Especially nervousness. Um, th- in poverty. They're living in poverty. Okay, they're not well kept. They don't look well kept. They got bruises on their bodies. Like someone is punishing them, because a lot of them that don't listen to what their handlers are saying, they get punished. Okay, in some form or fashion. Look at their arms. Some of them are drugged. They drug. A lot of these young girls. Um, and then a lot of them, have a lack of education. You know, they demand for, cheap labor, and they're sex workers, so they demand sex from people. Um, and it goes on to, there's a lack of human rights. Okay, there's a lack of human rights in the world, around the world. People are not acknowledging that we have human rights as human beings, and other human beings can't just be out here doing things to other human beings and not being held accountable. Okay, because who is another human being to traffic another human being or enslave another human being? You're a human being. Okay, we all lay down and get up the same way, and just because someone is in a vulnerable situation, you do not take advantage of them. Okay, you help them find the resources so they can live a functionable, happy life. Okay, not use them for your own personal benefit. Okay, and so this is one of the big problems as well. And then there's a lack of opportunities, legitimate opportunities out there for a lot of these children, and a lot of these young adults, and some adult single parent mothers. There's a lack of economic opportunity for them. Okay, they have nowhere to go. They can barely pay their rent. They can barely put food on their table. They don't have any transportation. So some of these women get desperate. Okay, they get very desperate. So they get into escorting, prostituting, or they find a sugar daddy, because they have all these websites, and a lot of these dating websites, that's all they are. They're human trafficking hubs. Is these a lot of these dating sites? Some that are Christian, but then again, I don't know, but a lot of them are human trafficking hubs, like that website OnlyFans, but as well Facebook, Instagram, because there's a lot of Instagram models. Okay, this is a public platform. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. I mean, these girls are out there putting it all out there, for the world to see. Okay, and you have these predators online from all around the world, and then they have their little private sessions or whatnot, and then recently I was reading there was an instance, a couple of instances actually, where girls met a guy off of Instagram or Facebook or OnlyFans, and he found out where she lived at and came and killed her. Okay, so we have these open platforms that a lot of these young adults are on, and adults, and they are putting their business all out there, meaning they're showing everything that they have for money, okay, to provide for their family, for put food on their table for the children, or pay their electric bill, gas bill, or whatever, pay their car payment, car insurance. So this is a lack of resources that a lot of single parent mothers, adults, homeless people, men and women, because these days it's men and women, because I know it was an instance that I met a LGBTQ gentleman, and at the time I was in transportation in type of job, and he said he was running because there was another LGBT guy trying to rape him. And I was like, and then, that just floored me. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He said he said he had to fight his way out of that, out of the place where he was at, because the guy was trying to rape him. So the LGBTQ also experience these type of things as well, where, other LGBTQ people are trying to enslave them and human traffic them and entrap them into, sex slavery or whatever. So it's not just women and children, and you know it's men too. So it's across the board. So this is a big problem, and that's because there's lack of resources for people out there, economical resources. We have all these nonprofit organizations, but they only can help so many people, and then some people they turn away because they can't help them. They don't have any more room for them. They don't have the resources for them. It just some type of issue that they can't help a lot of these people. And a lot of these people get lost in the system, or they get lost into not lost, get sold into human trafficking, because that is their like last resort to live some little bit of a functionable life. Okay, because they're getting the money and the resources that they need, even though they're being drugged, even though they're getting beat every day, even though they're being controlled, even though they're being raped and molested. This is their only way of survival. So it's very sad to see that there's a lack of economical resources. And there's other social factors and cultural practices. Like I said, other countries think it's okay to marry children, okay, which is insanity when a child isn't even developed yet. A child hasn't even lived their life yet. A child is supposed to uh, get an education first off, K through 12, okay, and they want to go on to college, let them go to college, and then they can think about having a family foundation, not from 6 years old on to getting married at 6 years old, and then they can't even produce a child at 6 years old. So why would you want to marry a child at that young of an age? And that's just insanity. And then even though they get to childbearing ages of maybe 14 or 15, then they have a child young, and then now they have a baby to take care of. So their life, the whole life is gone. Okay, that child's life is just gone. That's insanity. Okay, children are supposed to live a full, fruitful, young, life as a child. Go outside and play, have fun, sports, education, connect with other children their age. That's what they're supposed to do. That's how they're supposed to live their life. Okay, not be sold into human trafficking and then used uh, as a bride. Okay, to be sexually molested at a young age. Okay, that scars that child for life. That child is just ruined unless somebody gets a hold of that child and rehabilitates that child. And that's what we need to start doing, rehabilitating and transforming these lives that have been taken away from them, because that's what it is. Their life has been taken away, and no one is talking about none of this stuff. Well, they're talking about it, but not enough. Okay. um, and then it also could be conflict and natural disaster, that some of these children are sold into sex trafficking. Haiti was one of the natural disasters. I think it was in the I think it was Hillary Clinton. She was connected to Hillary Clinton. Okay, and as well as Amber Alert is connected to. I'm not, talking about them, but Hillary Clinton as well. But a lot of kids got sold into human trafficking during um, the hurricane in Haiti. It was a natural disaster in Haiti, and a lot of kids got sold in slavery. Okay, a lot of kids got missing, and as well in African countries, a lot of kids get sold into slavery. Okay, and no one says anything, um, because they do it privately, and these are rich, powerful people that are doing this. That's the sick part. These are rich, powerful people trafficking other human beings, and because they are powerful and they have money, and they have the resources, they can buy these properties, these islands. They put them out on islands like the Jeffrey Epstein situation. We see that. And what's that other one? I forget the producer name. I think of it in a minute, but Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, you see, he had an island. Okay, so these powerful people, have these big islands that they have, or they have these properties in Hollywood Hills, or they have the properties out in the deserts, or they even also have built underground places to, traffic these children, through these portals is that they have. Okay, and so they have the money to do this, and they'll use any excuse to do it, and that is a natural disaster. Okay, they use these natural disasters to get these children and get these vulnerable adults, okay, to traffic them, especially in third world countries. Okay, because they're already living in poverty, they're already living in a third world country, so they want to make, thinking they can make a better way for themselves and their family by you know you know, sex trafficking, and find out that that's not the case, because a lot of them end up deceased and not even able to get back to their families or their countries. So a lot of this, is going on right now. So you have to be mindful in natural disasters. These places, people need places to go. They need safe havens to go to. And I created a program for that. It's called Love Thy Neighbor, um, that can help with a lot of this stuff. I'm still working on it, still working on some investors to get involved in some other things federally, to help me get them going. But these these children and these adults, they need a safe haven to go to. Okay, and that's the problem. They don't have a safe haven, and they have nowhere to go. Okay, so this is why they are vulnerable, and they're being basically trapped into situations that they don't want to be trapped in. Okay, and we stated trafficking generates a large profit. Okay, just like organ harvesting. Okay, that's a whole nother topic that I might get into as well. But it's $1 billion business, human trafficking. Other people trafficking other people. That's insanity in this day and age. We have human rights. Okay, I have stated in the videos, I explained all 30 human rights. So there's no way that children and other human beings should be trafficked by any other human being. These people have some issues, okay, and they need to be held accountable. Okay, you have no right to put your hands or handle any other human being. Now, if they go by free will, then hey, that's their free will, because some go freely, some want to be, in that industry. And if that's the case, then that's their free will. We always have free will, but a lot of them are so young they don't know what's going on. Okay, they're lied to, they're coerced, they're manipulated. Like in the video that I was watching, it actually was a father that was that did it to both of his daughters, and they set it up like the girls were going to a beauty pageant, like a modeling agency. and they had the lady there, and the lady, they had the big room that looked all pretty and bright, and like they were actually at a modeling agency, and or a modeling pageant. And the girl dressed up pretty, and they had the stage, and the lady told her, you walk this way, and make a circle, and you have all these men sitting in the audience, and they bid it on the girls. Okay, lots of money, 300,000 for uh, 500,000. They were 30,000. They were paying a lot of money for these girls. Okay, and so this is what they're doing. They're coercing these girls. Oh, you're going to be in a modeling agency, modeling, a beauty pageant. Everything's going to be fine. And this is what the her father was telling her. Oh, they choose you. Oh, they think you're so pretty, and da 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 da. And the little girl is thinking that she's going into an actual beauty pageant, not to know that she's about to get sold off into sex trafficking. I said, this is insanity. But thank God they were rescued. And because her sister, he had already sold her sister into it, and he told everybody's in the family that the sister was in college, away in college. She was not in college. He had sold her off years prior into sex trafficking. And then he got a hold of the younger daughter, and then he did the same thing to her. But in the end of the movie, both sisters were captured. But their mom was so distraught that she became a drug addict, and she died of an overdose. But a longtime family friend, the military got involved, and they captured the girls. So, that was a blessing in disguise. But stuff like this goes on, and people don't even talk about it. When I saw that, I was like, that's just awful. Just awful. And then, they put them places, another movie that I watched, where they put them in a big warehouse, and they had little beds and little cages, for them. And then they had them doing work, okay, doing labor work. And then some, were being molested, and some were being put into like rooms together, and they're these girls are trying to figure out how they can get out, and but I think those girls ended up getting captured as well. Some of them died because of the shootout that happened to rescue them. But that's not funny. But yeah, they actually got rescued as well. But they were like in a big warehouse type of setting as well. So it's just stuff like this that's very irritating as a woman. I mean, this is insanity, and we must talk about this, and we must save as many as women and children, and even LGBTQ that are experiencing sex trafficking and human trafficking, because it's a big business, okay, that we need to talk about. And then also, I spoke about this too, a lack of safe migration options. As this is a big problem too. This is a big problem too, because uh, the United States wants to keep these open borders. Okay, they want to keep these open borders, not knowing that when these women get here, even men, because I've met a few of them, when they get here, they don't have nowhere to go. Okay, then they get caught up in situations where people are controlling them, because they know, first of all, they're not legal. They don't have their green cards. They don't have a visa. They don't know anybody here in the United States. So they get caught with people that, they put them in the strip clubs, or they, take them to their homes and start molesting them, raping them, controlling them, telling them what to do, you know, and then they get caught into human trafficking and slavery. Next thing they know, they're being bounced around from house to house, man to man, because nobody knows them. And, they don't have a green card, visa. They don't have nothing. So, who's going to sit there and believe them? And then some of them don't even speak English, you know. And this also, goes because I know men and women in these type of situations. They come over to the United States. They don't have a green card. They don't have visa because of the backlog process, and and all of that, that's going on currently now. And a lot of these people are being taken advantage of right here in the United States, men and women, because I met them both. I actually met one recently. He's being taken advantage of. And he was like, what am I supposed to do? I was like, I don't know. And so there's not enough resources for a lot of these people that come across the border. I mean, they say, oh, yeah, keep the borders open, keep the borders open. A lot of these people don't have anywhere to go. Okay, a lot of people, they if they do have somewhere to go, they still, it's hard for them to get jobs. You know, there's no way for them to survive. They have no roof over their head, so they depend on, you know, people that they meet, and they know they're vulnerable and know they have nowhere to go, so they take advantage of them. And that's exactly what's happening currently in the United States right now. A lot of these uh, migrants are being taken advantage of right now due to lack of resources. Okay, they don't know anybody. They come here looking for a better way of life. They don't know anybody, so guess what? They end up being sex trafficked, human trafficked, you know, being caged in houses that they don't want to be in, being around people that they don't want to be in, don't know how to get out of the situations that they are in. They're getting mentally and physically abused. Okay, they're getting threatened daily, because they know they have nowhere to go, and no one's going to help them. And some of them, they applied for their green card, they applied for their and these are not only migrants. There's, asylum seekers and refugees. The same difference. They applied for the things that they, need to apply for, but it's such a big backlog, so now, they're stuck in situations that they don't want to be in because they have no help, they have nowhere to go, so they're, they have to deal with whatever, they deal with, being human trafficked, sex trafficked, and living with people that they don't even know, that are being very mean and cruel to them. So this is actually happening currently in the United States that a lot of people aren't aware of. Okay, so that's another issue that we're dealing with. Um, and then this goes on to say, some of the physical health things that I'm going to be talking about in regards to human trafficking. And then we'll expand more on this tomorrow. But the physical health aspects of all of this, they frequent treatment from STDs. Okay, and this is a big thing right now. This is a big thing right now. These STDs, they're a big thing, because I have a couple of friends that are, nurses, and the the increase in STDs is astronomical. Okay, STDs are just out of control, and now these days, besides HIV, there's other diseases that are incurable, and people are passing these things along. And I was told by a foreign person, actually the other day, because I don't know if it's true or not, but he was like, she was like, well, we don't have those things in our country. And I'm like, what? You don't have STDs in your country? They're like, no, we don't have those things. So I don't know if these people are coming here or not. They're not aware that, there's such thing as diseases, sexual diseases that don't go away. And they're incurable, and it impacts their entire health and life. So this is a big problem too. Okay, because a lot of these migrants come here and they're, they don't know. It's like, oh, nobody told me that. I was like, that should have been US 101. Okay, that should have been definitely US 101. So some of them don't even know about this stuff. So that's why they need to be educated, and it, because it's a big thing right now that a lot of people, aren't telling these migrants when they come over here, and especially, with the COVID-19 as well, you know, these are, deadly diseases, that they can get. And especially, if they're being human trafficked and getting sexual transmitted disease, and they have to keep going back to the doctor. And some of them aren't even being treated. Okay, who knows? Depends on who their handler is, if they're going to take them to the doctor or not. Okay, because they might not even take them to the doctor and just let them, die of the disease, die of the STD. So, you have to be very mindful that these things are occurring. And another thing, They have, of course, the STDs. They have a high number of sexual partners. That's because, they've been human trafficked, and a lot of these women, they put them. A lot of them, they put them in hotels or houses, or or whatnot, and whatever that handler, says, like some of them, I said, some of them do it on their own free will. Now, let's just be clear about that, but they, whatever, how many partners, whatever money they want to make that day. Say if their handler wants to make, $2,000-3,000 off of her that night. Okay, she, if it's 10 men, 5 men, 20 men, she has to do it. Okay, she has to do it because she has nowhere to go. So he wants to make his profit for the night. Okay, and of course she gives all her money that, her from her sexual, things that she does with these Johns, and all the money goes to her handler. And so, you know, she has a lot of sexual partners, okay, which is bad on her health, bad on any woman's health. That is very bad on their health. So that's, one of the physical health things that they have to experience. And multiple pregnancies is also, and abortions. That's another factor as well. Because sexual deeds, things happen if they're not, protecting themselves, or even the handlers, because the handlers also do sexual acts, with their we call them, I don't, women. Okay, women that they traffic. Okay, they also have sex with them, so then they end up pregnant by their handler, or pregnant by one of their Johns, or so, and then then they want abortion, and then abortion isn't, continuous abortions isn't healthy either. Okay, for a woman's body, it's not healthy. Okay, especially if they're young. Okay, because you know it, maybe one day she wants to have a family, and she won't be able to have a family because she's had so many abortions. Okay, so that's an issue too. um, then exposure to toxic chemicals, and that could be drugs, or whatever they're around, especially if they're in a warehouse where there could be asbestos, there could be all kinds of stuff going on in warehouses, or where then, because they put them in inhumane conditions. A lot of these women are living in inhumane conditions, and it's not healthy. Okay, they're not, and they keep them drugged up, so with all kind of chemicals, or just inhumane conditions that these women and children are exposed to, which is not healthy either. Then they have dental issues because of course they don't give them proper health care. Okay, when you're sex trafficked or you're a child, you don't get health care. The handlers do not give them health care because they know if they take them to somebody, they're going to say something. So they don't get the proper dental care that they need. So that's a big issue as well. They have bruises and burns, as I mentioned before, because they don't do what they're supposed to do. They beat them, okay, or they burn them, or whatever they do to them. They cause them severe harm, okay, because they're not listening, or if they don't want to do something that they want them to do, then they hurt them. That's another problem. And then self-harm too, because I know, a lot of these girls, they are cutters. They will, if you see a girl with a whole bunch of cuts on her arm or a hand or feet, I've seen them very bad drug dealers. They become drug addicts. I actually met this girl. um, she was very bad off. She was very bad off, and but luckily she had a boyfriend that was trying to help her. And then I met her, and I was trying to help her as well. But she was shooting up in her neck. She was shooting up. Then her, because her hands had got just she couldn't shoot up in her hands no more because she had shut up so much. She couldn't shoot up in her arms anymore because her veins were shot. So she started shooting up in her neck, and I was I was just freaking out. I was like, "Oh, are you serious?" And then she started shooting up in her toes. But she got to a point that she came to me. She was like, I can't end this, because she had been trafficked by her mother and her father. She was molested. She was beaten, and she had just had a rough life. So I tried to, I helped her, and helped her get into rehab. So I think she ended up getting the rehabilitation that she needed. But these type of stories are real. Okay, because I've seen a lot of this, because I'm a little older, so I've seen a lot of this, and for some reason they seem to approach me. Okay, I don't know why, but they seem to approach me like, I'm the savior. Like, can you help me? And I'm like, what? What are you doing? And I'm like, oh my God. They start telling me their stories, and I'm like, ah. And then I also, I worked worked in a rehabilitation facility of young girls that were, recovering drug addicts as well. And I seen a lot of them, relapse, and so have to try to pull them back in, but I have experience, put it like that. So let's go on to the other physical health issues. Um, Weight loss, malnourishment. We see a lot of that because they're not eating properly, because they barely feed. They don't even rarely eat properly. Okay, they're not getting the full balanced meals that they need, because they're being, if they have, that the John have like 20 customers lined up for them, that's an all day affair. So, how are they going to eat properly? They're not getting proper breakfast, proper lunch, or proper dinner. They're not eating properly. So a lot of these men and women and children, they look malnourished because they're not getting the proper nutrition that they need, okay, which is a problem. Respiratory issues, and that goes from the drugs and all of that they're getting fed too. Um, there's a lot of physical and sexual abuse. We know that. That's we know that because that's part of human trafficking, because they sexually abuse people and physically abuse them. They have behavior problems, as well. They act out, because some of them just don't want to do it anymore, so they start acting out. So those are signs of health issues. They have confusing and contradictory stories. Okay, because you really have to listen to them. The ones that I've met, you really have to pay attention to what they're saying, because they do give you contradictory stories, and you have to try to put what they're saying together and ask them the right questions, because if you don't ask them the right questions, you can't help them. You have to be able to ask them the right questions, because they're so out of it. They've been through so much. They're just like, trying to tell you that they need help, and then you ask them, their stories, don't coincide together. So you have to really focus on what they're saying, and ask them the right questions to get the information that you need to help them. Inability to focus and to concentrate, of course, that's one thing that they do, because they've been through so much. Their minds are gone. Okay, their mind is just so all distraught, because they've been took them through the coals and back. So and on drugs too, because like I said, they pump with drugs, so that's a big issue as well. So they just don't, they can't think clearly. Unaware of what the date is, where they're at, and the time, because if you're being trafficked around the world. And let me tell you something. um I I know I knew a situation where they put them in cars, dark cars, black cars. Okay, they can't see in and out, so don't know where they're going. Okay, all they know is when they get to the location, they tell them to get out, but they use these black cars. Okay, and they could be taking them from a country to another country, to a state to state, to state to state. Okay, and they have these black cars, or they put them in the back of the vans. They don't know where they're at, where they're going, what time it is, what day it is, because they don't give them that information. They don't have watches or anything like that. Okay, so they know nothing. Okay, so because they're being human trafficked, and they try to keep all that information away from them. Okay, so, that's keeping them enslaved is what they're doing. Okay, so that's another physical issue. um and they also protect the person who hurt them. Some of them won't give up their handlers. Oh, they won't give up the handlers, because they know if they give up the handlers, they're going to die. Okay, so they can't be telling people who their handler are. They're going to die. Okay, because they know, because they threaten them, right off the bat. If you tell X, Y, and Z, or you say anything, that's your life. You're dead. Okay, and your family will go after you. They'll go after them and their family. Okay, they make sure that no one knows. Okay, so they threaten these girls. That's why they don't, turn a lot of them in. Okay, so because they're afraid, they're scared. So, that's a big problem. All this stuff is like sickening to me. It's very sickening to me. I'll tell y'all what. Um, and they minimize the abuse. Okay, and then they got two big black eyes, busted nose, busted lip, and they're like, "Oh, it's nothing," and that's because they probably have been in that situation before. They're used to it. Okay, because they're used to getting beat on. So this is why they minimize the abuse that they're getting mentally and physically. Um, they have guilt and shame about their experiences, and God bless them, it's not their fault. It is not their fault. Okay, because I'm sure they did not ask to be put in that situation. They were just looking for a helping hand. Okay, to live some type of functionable life. That's all they were looking for. Okay, they weren't looking for what they um somebody coerced them into. They weren't looking for that. Okay, they weren't looking to be human trafficked around the world or put somewhere enslaved in a place, in a apartment or house, or or a warehouse, wherever they keep them, on an island. That especially on the island, you really can't go. You can't do nothing on the island. Or if you're out in the desert somewhere, where are you going to go? Who are you going to call? Okay, nobody. You have nobody to call. You're just stuck there. And a lot of these places are all around the world, even underground, because I'm a researcher, and I've seen there were children up under the ground. Okay, who would build things under the ground to keep children and women, to molest them? Okay, and sex traffic them underground. That's insanity. That is just insanity. These people are sick and deranged. Okay, then of course they want to commit suicide. Of course they would. Because they don't want to live like this. Okay, they don't want to continue being molested every day. Because you, as a woman, you put yourself in their shoes. Okay, even a child, you put yourself in those child's shoes. Would you want to have 50 sex partners in one day? Okay, there's no way. There is no way humanly possible. So a lot of them just take their own lives, which is understandable and because if I was them, I wouldn't want to be here. That's just too much. That is too much. And then I'm sure it's consistent. So they commit suicide. It's one of the physical health issues that they experience. Um, they're timid. A lot of them are so shy because they're scared of their handler, because the handlers see them do one wrong thing, they know that that's it for them. They're going to get abused. Something's going to happen to them wherever they get back to where they need to get back to. So they keep, a lot of them keep their heads down. They won't say nothing. Okay, so that's another sign that you have to look for. Um, are they aggressive, or they're defensive? They have heightened stress, because it, they deal with so many things, and some of these things are some of these sexual fantasies that these people have to these human traffickers have to deal with, and children have to deal with. It's just beyond me. That it's just horrific. With these, because they're basically fulfilling adults fantasies, since that's what they're doing. Okay, and that fantasy could be anything. So who knows what that fantasy could be for that adult and that child, or that woman, or even that LGBTQ person has to deal with. Okay, who knows? So that's another big problem. Post traumatic stress disorder, yes, a lot of them have that. Okay, because of the experiences that they had to deal with being human trafficked. They're withdrawn, they're depressed, they have a local lack of social skills. Okay, because they haven't had a proper education. Okay, they don't even know how to communicate with people. Okay, because they were taught to be keep your mouth closed and do what I say, from their handlers. And if you don't do X, Y, and Z, this is X, Y, and Z is going to happen to you. So a lot of them have low self-esteem, and afraid if they speak out to the wrong person, it can end their life, and or their family's life, somebody that they love. And even like with single parent mothers, they threaten, like if the mother is keeping, the child or whatever, and the girl gets, you know, caught into human trafficking, the handler to give it, look, I'll go kill you, your baby and your mother. So so they keep quiet. They are taught to keep quiet. So that's why a lot of them don't say anything, which is sad. Or they a lot of them don't go to school, of course, um, or their grades are failing if they do go to school because something's going on that people aren't talking about. And then uh, drug addicts, substance abuse, that's a big one. Changing their dress. Okay, they go from wearing nice respectable clothes to wearing clothes of less clothes. Let's put it like that. They don't have that many clothes on. Okay, because the more clothes they have on. Because I've seen it, had been living, in areas that I've seen that even in the LGBT community, they don't even have any clothes and they're prostituting on the street and just with, nothing on basically. And, I've seen them in other areas, they don't have nothing on and some stilettos walking. So, less clothes, the better, I guess. Um, they have the age is inappropriate romantic partners. So we see that a lot today. You see these little teenage girls with these grown men that are in their 50s and 60s and 40s. They're with these grown men, which that's a red flag right there, unless it's their father or grandfather or uncle or somebody like that. But you got to be mindful of that too, because you don't know what that's going on either. But a lot of them are underage and they are with these older men. Okay, which is that's a red flag for really people to look into. um, Change in friends. Their friends go from, their high school friends, middle school friends, elementary friends to grown people, grown adults. So that's a problem too. They keep running away from home. Well, they keep running away because they are being lured out of the house. Okay. And actually, me raising two sons, it wasn't sex trafficking, but a gang was trying to recruit one of my sons, and I said no. Thankfully, I was aware of it automatically because you keep, as a parent, you're supposed to keep an eye on your children. Okay, and these days, it's even harder. Back then, when I was raising my sons, it wasn't all this internet nonsense going on. Now, the internet, you have to watch everything your child does on the internet, who they're talking to, because you don't know who is behind that screen. Okay, and that's why I don't agree with this online dating. I don't, and actually I've been off. I'm only using my social media as business. That's the only thing I use it for, because you don't know who's behind the screen. You don't know who you're talking to, and I've caught a lot of fake accounts, even business people, fake accounts, just to get your information. So there's a lot of illegal activity online that I actually myself have noticed and went through. So as far as your children, I mean, you guys let your children get on all the Snapchat, this Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok, and all of this stuff. You are opening up the portal for your child. Okay, unless you put the monitoring services on there. When you put the monitoring services on there, that's okay, but you still have to be mindful, because and mindful of their friends, who are they hanging out with. You have to be mindful because you don't know who's behind that Facebook page, that Instagram page. And a lot of these girls, a lot of these young girls are, they it's peer pressure. So if their friend is putting, half naked pictures out there, peer pressure, that means your child is going to put half naked pictures out there. and you're not aware of as the parent. So this is why you have to be very mindful what your children are putting out there online, okay, and who they're speaking to, okay, because this stage and age, this is how a lot of them are recruited, okay, through these social media apps, all these apps out here. Me, it's a big human trafficking hub, if you ask me. They're everywhere. And because even I, because I have young sons, and even my younger son, sometimes he says, Mom, well, it's a few times. It's a few times he came to me. He says, Mom, these girls are on Instagram and Snapchat and they're just letting it all hang out. And he says he comments on some of them, and they automatically get defensive, with him, and to leave them alone. I was like, well, if she wants to do it, that's her own free will. I said, but if she has parents, I bet her parents would say something differently. I said, but there's a lot of young girls out there doing it. They're putting themselves all out there on Snapchat, Instagram, OnlyFans, and all these dating sites and all of this. They are out there doing a lot. And a lot of y'all parents out there, y'all have no clue. Y'all have no clue because you're too self-absorbed in your work, or, taking care of the household and, all of this. So you have to be very mindful. Okay. You have to pay more attention in these days. Okay. Not saying anything against your parents, but pay more attention to your children. Um, like I said, repeat runaway, not able to speak for oneself or share information, and evidence of being controlled, wears inappropriate clothing. We talked about that for the weather. Okay, it's snow outside and they got on shorts and a tube top. That's a red flag. Um, lives at a work site. That's a lot too, because there's and I know there's a lot that work at them truck stops. So that's another thing. They actually live at them truck stops and they work at them truck stops. So that's another thing. Multiple people cramped in a cramped living space, and we discussed that. So these are some of the things in regards to physical health, in regards to modern day slavery and human trafficking. That this is just part one. We're going to go on to part two tomorrow. I'm going to go into more detail. But as a woman and a human certified human rights counselor and homeless women's advocate, this is very important to me because this is happening and this needs to stop and this needs to be brought to awareness. And I'm going to speak on this too. I have to speak on this. And a lot of people don't like when I speak upon this, but I'm being very truthful and very honest. There's no Me Too movement, okay, for homeless women that are dealing with this type of situation, or children dealing with this type of situation. The Me Too movement was only for women of wealth. It was not for women living in poverty and children living in poverty, experiencing molestation, rape, and death on a daily basis. Because as a homeless women's advocate, I would get reports of women being found dead outside in their tents or wherever they're at, raped, butt naked, just dead. Okay, so I don't agree with the Me Too movement, because and I actually confronted a couple of them actually about it, Melissa Milano and a couple of them about it, because they were at an event and I spoke up. I says, what about the women, homeless women? What about the women living in poverty? Where's their movement? There's no movement. Okay. It's just, there's an imbalance. There's a big imbalance. So this is why this is my new series that I'm going to be speaking about, is human trafficking of men, women, men, LGBTQ, and younger men, because, that's part of it now too, and children. So look forward to more from the Humanitarian Transformation Network by Candace. And please like, share, and subscribe, because, I'm new out here, but, well, not really. But this is my new platform that I'm doing to help heal humanity and to bring awareness to things that we need to talk about and things that we need to fix, as human beings, because at the end of the day we are all human beings. We all were born a human being, and we're all going to die a human being. And no other human being, no matter how powerful they are, no matter how much money that they have, they should not be able to harm other human beings in any form or capacity and use them for their own personal preferences. So this is very important. So I hope everyone enjoyed. Look for more to come on human trafficking by Humanitarian Transformation Network. Have a blessed night, everyone.